Hello, welcome to Pride of London Fan TV. Ali here, bringing you my review of the game at Molineux, which we lost 2-0 to Wolves, extending our run of defeats to 7 games. If you are a Palace fan feeling distressed right now, the only consolation I can offer you is at least we are not as distressed as Harry the Hornet and Watford fans today. Let's get straight into the game then at Molineux, which of course we lost 2-0 to Wolves. To put it simply, we lost to a better team, and Wolves showed why they're on the periphery of the Champions League places, and we showed why we continue to sink like a stone. I have to say, though, credit to Roy. The team selection I was quite pleased with when it came out, and I think most Palace fans were. I think in particular we were pleased with the full debut, finally, of Tyrick Mitchell. However, I do have a problem with the timing of the debut. I said in previous videos that I felt like the time was right at Villa Park when we played Aston Villa. He could have played him against a team lower down the league and eased him in, instead of throwing him in against one of the best wingers in the league in Adama Traore. For me, it's an example of poor management and a mishandling of a young player. But I was pleased to see him finally give a debut to a young player. I don't think Mitchell did himself any harm. Of course, he was beaten by Traore for the second goal, but I think there were loads of positives from his play, and I'd like to see him in a Palace shirt again, and we can take that positive that we finally saw a young player handed a debut, which we've been asking for since this restart. The other thing that really was noticeable and irritated again from Roy's management was the substitution of Jeffrey Schlupp for Riddlewell. Understand Schlupp going off, because obviously he's just come back from injury, but a defensive midfielder for a winger, I think only Roy could do that. And it's bewildering, really, the substitutions. I'm starting to think he's subversively mocking us with these substitutions. But again, introduction of a defensive midfielder when we're losing a game of football. I think only Roy has this philosophy. But, you know, it was positive at least to see Jeffrey Schlupp back. I said in my preview of the game that I think he is an important player in Roy's system. He does help us counter at pace. And I think he was a positive, and for me was man of the match. It's not saying much, but he was our man of the match in that he had a good couple of runs. So I think that is a positive in terms of that. However, I do think that it is a bit depressing that as a fan you get excited about Jeffrey Schlupp returning. It kind of shows where we are as a team in terms of our style. We are predictable, boring, dull and dire. And the return of Jeffrey Schlupp, it really is the only bit of excitement that we've been offered recently. So I think really the crux of the game, where we lost the game for me, and where Wolves are vastly superior, is really that they have midfielders with a deadly pass and creativity in the middle of the park, whereas we continue with these 3 defensive midfielders. And I think really since the 2017-18 season, when we last had Johan Cabaye, we've just really not had that creativity in the middle, and we've never really replaced Johan Cabaye. Now, obviously, that's not an easy thing to do, to replace Johan Cabaye. First of all, he has one of the best chances that we've ever had, but also probably one of the best central midfielders that we've ever had. And definitely in my lifetime. But I don't go along with this notion that the Palace way has to be a team of just hard-working midfielders. I think Johann's time at the club showed that we can play with more creativity. And the first half of Pardew's reign, we played some really good football and showed that we can do it effectively. And it just feels like since Cabaye's gone, we've slowly morphed into a predictable, dull team to watch. And I think when we now look to rebuild, and it was fantastic to see the signing of Nathan Ferguson yesterday. He's exactly the sort of player we should be getting, young, full of promise, and looks an exciting player to watch and will bring a lot to the team, I think. But when we are looking to rebuild, we need 1 or 2 creative players within the centre of midfield, someone with an eye for a pass, someone to get the game ticking. If you look at Wilfried Zaha, he looks bored. He looks like there's no one around him stimulating his play apart from maybe Jordan Ayew. So I think this leads me now to Roy, and where I am at is that we've brought Ferguson in now, but I think there's going to be a bigger rebuild in the summer. In particular, if Wilf goes, now I hope he doesn't go, but we were all really relieved and felt a bit lucky and maybe surprised that he stayed beyond last summer. It would be a big ask to keep him again this summer, and already the rumours are circulating. I think as well there's the rumoured move of Sacco to Lyon, and also potentially Benteke going as well, which would would move a lot of wages from our wage bill and would give us scope to rebuild and bring in some new players, in particular, as all the fans are hoping for, some younger players to freshen things up. So where I'm at with Roy is, for me personally, I think for what he's done on the budget, he deserves the first interview, if that makes sense. I think and I'm sure conversations have started with him and the board about what he wants, but I would be asking what type of player he wants. What style of football does he want to play next season? If he's still asking for defensive midfielders, if he doesn't want to bring in a creative midfielder with an eye for a pass, then the alarm bells would be ringing for me. I mean, he's not been using the players that we have, like Max Meyer, who might as well be on furlough, who's probably our biggest player with an eye for a pass. And to be fair, Max Meyer hasn't always taken the chances he's been given. But does Roy want to bring in a creative midfielder? If he doesn't, I'm not sure personally I can handle much more of this style of play that we have been playing with. Also, does he want to bring in younger players? Now, I'm sure these are conversations that Parish has had with Roy. But if he's coming out with things that are making alarm bells ring, if you're thinking it's going to be more of the same in terms of the style, I would personally be thinking about another option. The other two main things for me with Roy, and this is why I am sort of leaning towards a change of manager, is, as I said, potentially we're gonna have a big turnaround in players this summer, if with players going out and hopefully players coming in. Do we want a manager who potentially in a year or 2 years' time will be retiring potentially to start this rebuild, or do we get a manager in now to go through this rebuild and he can get his players in rather than inherit players that Roy has chosen? So I think we're at a crucial time for the club, and I think this might be the time for a change. I also keep coming to a point. One thing I was arguing for a couple of weeks ago was that potentially Roy could be helped by bringing in an innovative assistant, to a younger assistant to help him to challenge his in-game management. But really and truly, at this stage of his career, is Roy going to change his ways? Is he going to change his mindset? There's a really damning stat that with every game we've been losing at half time since 2018, we have not turned around to win. So that really shows the inflexibility of his approach. And I just don't know really whether at this stage of career he is going to change his way. So I've got a lot of respect for Roy. He's done a great job, really, on the budget he's got. But the style of football, for me, like many fans, is starting to grate. And I think the timing now, if potentially we lose players like Sacco, Benteke and Saha, and it frees up the wage bill to bring in some younger players, freshen things up, maybe we should do it with a new manager who can bring in his own players, as I've said previously. So I don't know. I personally, I'll leave it as this. I don't want it to be Roy out, because it feels disrespectful. But for me, it should be, Roy, here's that bottle of wine that you were asking for. Thanks for everything, chat. Plenty more of that in the director's lounge, where you can watch the games from now on. So that's me. That's where I'm at. I'm starting to lean towards a change in management. Where are you at? Do you think we should change managers in the summer, or should we stick with Roy? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, please press the subscribe button.